All right, Coach Carl coming today from Carl's Corner. You can tell by my window here. It's kind of a wet and rainy day out here in our town of Navasota, Texas. Enjoying the cooler weather. It's wonderful. Good to see some rain too. Um, Mother's Day, all month of May. Free lessons for all the wonderful women in our lives. Moms, sisters, grandmas, wives. Go to thisisgolfgold.com. Follow the link at the top of the page and get the entire lesson series of that's the introduction to golf for absolute beginners, free to moms all month. Let's talk about an important relationship in golf, and it's one that if you are hoping to be able to hit good golf shots, or maybe you have a struggle like so many of my students have, where they hit the ground before they hit the golf ball, or maybe they miss the ground altogether and swing in such a way that the bottom of their club just barely touches the golf ball. We call that a thin shot. If you hit the ground before you get to the golf ball, we call that a fat shot or a chunky shot. Some people call it going deep. Anyway, neither of those are going to be very useful in playing golf. You don't want to hit the ground before you hit the ball, and you don't want to not hit the ground when you're playing golf. You want to be able to hit the ball first, and then have the club touch the ground or brush the grass. So there's an important relationship that exists that I'll try and explain to you here while I'm sitting in my car. And to be able to understand it, you're going to have to do a bit of work while you're listening to this if you're able to. So the relationship that I'm going to talk to you about is the relationship between the center of your hips and the relationship between the center of the hips and where they are at impact. So let me try and help you understand what I mean by that. If you stand up right now and just stand up nice and tall, you don't have to feel like you're, trying to be at attention or anything like that. Just stand up nice and tall. Weight evenly balanced on both feet, 50-50. I want you to then become aware of two places. Even though we're talking about hip center and where the center of your hips are, you need to understand the second one, which is the center of your shoulders, the center of your chest. So first place I want you to be aware of is, I can show you on my, because I got my button on my shirt over here, right? So with that, not the top button, but where that second button is, the center of your chest, you can just call that spot right there at the middle of your chest. And then the center of your hips is where your belt buckle would be if you had a belt around your waist, or where the button on your pants are, something like that, right? So belt buckle and the buttons on your shirt are a very good reference point. So standing up just straight and tall with weight on both feet, that center point between your hips and your shoulder, or the center point of your hips and your shoulders, they should be kind of one on top of each other. And now I want you to just practice changing that relationship by moving your hips in a lateral line over towards your left ankle. So everything else will go along with it. The center of your shoulders will move to the left. The center of your hips will move to the left, and you'll feel like your body weight has shifted from being 50-50 to being a lot over onto the left leg. Now, we're just talking side to side. We're not talking heels to toes, right? So if you were standing in golf posture, that lead leg is the one that the left leg is closer to the target. And so you can describe the movement that you're making as shifting that center point, shifting your belt buckle in a direction towards the target so that it is over your left ankle. Now do the same, but go the opposite direction. So go back to standing up just straight and tall neutral with your hips and shoulders one above each other, weight 50-50, and now slide your hips over towards your trail ankle or your right ankle if you're right-handed, and feel like all of your body weight is now concentrated in a position that's over your right ankle. And just go back and forth slowly for a moment or two. Go back to the middle, slide over to the left side, go back to the middle, slide over to the right side. When my students come to me and we work with them, and the very first thing that we talk about is making contact and why their contact is poor, this is the first place that you have to look, right? If your hips at impact, if that center point, if your belt buckle is closer to your right ankle, then there's a very high likelihood that you're going to hit the ground before you hit the ball, or you're going to make some type of adjustment to miss hitting the ground, and you'll bend your elbows and wrists and you might catch the ball thin, right? So let me say that one more time. If at impact, that center point of your hips, your belt buckle, is closer to being over your right ankle, then the likelihood is that you're going to hit the ground before you hit the golf ball. Your low point is not going to be in the right spot. If you want to improve, you need to have your hips over or closer to being over as much as you can to start out with over your left ankle. You need that belt buckle to be over your left ankle at impact so that your low point can happen closer to where that center of your hips is, right? If you are struggling with contact, this is the first place that I would suggest you go and work on. And this is not something that you apply just at impact, although we really need it to be good at impact. You need your hips, you need that belt buckle to be over your left or your lead ankle at impact. And it's probably easier if you get that belt buckle to be center or left of center throughout your entire backswing and downswing, so that it's easier to get it over that left ankle at impact. If you want to go check out some good information about this, you can go look at some of the stuff that Charles Howell III has been sharing on his Instagram. Amazing stuff there. You can go and research Mr. Andy Plummer and the stack and tilt system that he teaches out of, and put aside any, perhaps negative things that you have against the phrase stack and tilt. Look instead at the principle of what's being taught, right? And the principle is simply this, that if your center of your hips is too far over the right ankle, then it's almost impossible to make good contact. If the center of your hips at impact is closer to being over the left ankle, now the likelihood of you hitting the ball first increases dramatically. There might be some other things that you're doing that causes you to not have perfect contact every time, and I'll talk about those relationships in future videos. But the first place I want you to start, if you're having trouble hitting the ground first, in particular, in your with your iron shots, is become aware of where that center point of your hips is at impact, and try and shift it so that it is over your left ankle more, or towards your left ankle more. That's going to move your low point of your swing arc in the direction that the hips are moving in. All right. So there's your golf gold assignment for today. If you want some help with that, reach out. You can send me a video of your swing. I'll take a look at it, and I'll give you a quick piece of feedback about how you're doing it and what you need to do to improve. With that, you can also go check out the Introduction to Golf for Absolute Beginners. That will have some information on this. If you're really struggling with this, towards the end of the month, my lesson series, Beginner to Better, will launch, and there'll be quite a bit of information that talks about these relationships between your hips and where they are in relation to the ball and the ground, and which ankle they're closest to. And that'll give you some even more information about how to control where that low point is so you can hit solid shots. So more stuff to come. Go practice this. Go get the center, go get your belt buckle, the center of your hips. Get that being closer to being over the left ankle at impact, and this will help you improve your contact.